host, Mick Raven. It is Sunday, the 14th of April 2024. This is a review covering unprecedented what is happening right now. This is not in a few years' time. This is happening right now. We're about to enter the recession now. And you can see the banks are desperate to get control of your money before that happens. They don't want anyone on cash out there being able to support themselves. They need everyone subservient, hooked up to the globalist agenda. And that's to do with the climate hoax and the whole thing. They just want everyone obeying what they say, regardless of what it means or where it goes. They just want you to bow your head and do as you're told. And reading on, it's got, the Reserve Bank of Australia yesterday reported that ATM cash withdrawals continue to rise. It says there were 30,859,700 ATM cash withdrawals made in Australia during February, up by 166,400 withdrawals, which is 0.5% from January, and more than 1 million more withdrawals than 1 year ago in February 2023, up by 3.6%. It says Australians withdrew more than $9.5 billion in total during February 2024, an average withdrawal of $308. 12 months ago, the average ATM withdrawal was $292 in February 2023. It says Australians clearly want access and use cash. It says banks can no longer claim that Australians don't want to access to physical currency as an excuse for closing branches and ATMs. Banks profit from digital payments through merchant service fees and card surcharges, plus the collection of valuable transaction data. Only cash is reliable, private and surcharge free. Without cash as a payment option, there is no competitive pressure on the banks to rein in their rising fees. That's so true. Data shows a strong rise in the amount of cash circulating in the community. It says on the 3rd of April 2024, there was over $101.5 billion worth of Australian banknotes on issue, up from $100 billion on the 6th of March 2024. 71% of Australians are worried about a cashless Australia, according to a survey paid for by Wave, a digital payments app. Cash is not disappearing, and the facts are clear. People continue to want cash. So true, people, but this is the reality. The globalists have a finger in all the pies of the major banks international. These banks are tied to those international banks, so that's how the tentacle spreads. All the major corporations in Australia are tied to the major banks, which are then tied to those international banks, which again are tied to major shareholders, globalists. So this and their families. So this is the problem. There will be done. That's the possibility of a new world order, because it's not some pipe dream ideology thought up by Mao Zedong or Joseph Stalin. This is an idea that all of these globalists agree on, to control the rest of the planet and all its inhabitants from this day forward with their own rules and goals. Okay, you don't get a say. It's not democratic. This is something people don't get, especially all the minions that keep falling for it over and over again. So the end game will be that you have no freedom, no choice. You are surveyed from birth to death, medicated how they'd like to medicate you, and if you step out of line, you may end up in the Soylent Green bin. Who knows? But this must stop. This cannot happen. Okay? You want a free society? There's nothing free about this society. Okay? It's almost exactly a replica, a blueprint or a red print of the Chinese Communist Party and what they want. They work on top of the whole structure like a capitalist system. Some of the richest billionaires in the world are actually Chinese nationals. Okay, and they rein them in and take their money off them down the track, because that's the ideology. You can't prosper, you have to share. But at the same time, you can see that China is on the take. So what's the difference? There is none. The people at the top are exactly the same as the globalists. They want the same thing, complete control. It's got nothing to do with nationalism, nothing to do with religion, because there's no religion in communist China anymore. It's got nothing to do with any of the old school ways of doing society. It's a brand new world, as opposed to a brave new world, but same thing. And actually an update from the change.org petition, which is, incidentally, just going to see how many people are on it again because I haven't looked at it for that reason yet, but 175,000 people have signed it. It keeps going up as I look at it. But then if you go back to the latest stories, which I was just about to read, you'll see that the Commonwealth Bank, which is a globalist shill for the New World Order, has now said on the 11th of April 2024, cash payments over $500 should be banned. That's the Commonwealth Bank boss, Matt Comyn, saying. He's saying any cash payments over $500 should be done through the electronic payment system, said Comyn. Actually, is it Comyn? Yeah, Comyn. This would likely save the government $5 billion in tax revenue leaks. I mean, these are the people that make money when you use a card, like just to do a transaction. It says, also last week, Matt Comyn admitted that the banks helped create the cash crisis in Australia by underpaying the armoured truck companies for many years. Actually, I've got to click on that link and see why he would actually confess to that, but I'll just go to the article. It looks like it's a subscription only. It's from the Australian. And it's I'll just read the headline they've left me with because otherwise you've got to sign up for Rupert Murdoch to get some money off you. They're all fleecing it, people, even the information. Prostitute media. It says, Commonwealth Bank of Australia boss calls for radical tax overhaul. CBA boss Matt Comyn has issued a bold call for sweeping tax reforms to revive Australia's flagging economic prospects. So let's go and see where he actually said that there was a problem with Armaguard, underpaying them. One sec. Now, it wasn't actually Armaguard. Now I reread it, the actual petition. It actually says armoured trucks. So they're saying the banks helped create the cash crisis in Australia by underpaying the armoured truck companies for many years. Now, I think that refers to the big fine they just recently copped. This is a few years back. I'll see if I can find it. It's this particular article is from 2018, November 2018, from the Sydney Morning Herald, smh.com.au. It says, Commonwealth Bank of Australia admits to putting profits over customers in historic grilling. And it says, the Commonwealth Bank Chief Executive Matt Comyn has admitted to a broken culture at the bank that saw it repeatedly prioritise profits over the interests of its customers, including the charging of inflated mortgage broking commissions and unjustified fees in the sale of dud insurance to tens of thousands of customers. So there's your first one, Matt. And then I'll find the other one that just came out about the fines, the big fines. So this is from crikey.com.au. It says, I love the headline, wage theft isn't complex, just ask the Commonwealth Bank. It came out on February the 16th, 2024. It says, reckon wage theft is because awards are too complex? Not at the Commonwealth Bank, which just copped a record fine for underpaying its staff. So they obviously mean everyone attached to the banking system. This is what I'm thinking about the armoured trucks. Everyone's attached to the banking system for the Commonwealth Bank has been hurt by the underpaying, but also the fact that they're closing branches, getting rid of ATMs and forcing their own workforce onto the streets, just simply because it's a mandate to get us to cancel cash. So if they get rid of cash, they get rid of the armoured truck businesses, they get rid of most of the bricks and mortar. They don't need them because you can do it all online. So it's obvious that these major shareholders, and I did look up the Commonwealth Bank, and Vanguard, an American corporation, Fundmaster, is the leading major shareholder of the Commonwealth Bank in Australia. So there you go. A globalist institution, one of the big 10, has got its fingers in the pie of an Australian bank. So it makes you wonder if the word Australian even means anything at all. Now, reading on from that article, it says the Commonwealth Bank's management might have been happy with its $5 billion profit announcement this week, but yesterday the federal court dished up an ugly footnote. The bank copped a record $10.34 million fine for wage theft by the CBA and ComSec, which underpaid staff by $16 million over a period of years. Yet they only got fined $10 million and they fleeced $16. How does that equal? It says, now credit where due. I like that bit. The reason it was a record fine is because because of the changes to wage theft laws by the Turnbull government, which made it easier to prosecute and increase fines for serious contraventions. It says, and these were serious contraventions. It says the persisting line from big business is that wage theft is because of awkward complexity. If only we could strip away many of those conditions and protections for workers, wage underpayment would be heavily reduced among hard-pressed employers. It's a particularly favoured line of the Business Council of Australia, of which the Commonwealth Bank is a member. It says, whilst the Commonwealth Bank's underpayment of 7,400 CBA and CommSec employees from 2015 to 2021 a case of awkward complexity? Not according to the Federal Court Judge Robert Bromwich, who found that senior staff at the CBA and CommSec had put on notice of potential non-compliance issues and knew facts that should have sounded a warning, but took years to address the non-compliance issues. He also found that responsible HR managers had disregarded or been indifferent to the risk that individual flexibility arrangements were not meeting the employees' entitlements. Oh, they're fleecing them, people. This is one of Australia's biggest companies. I see it's a company, people, with a huge HR department operating in financial services. It was altered to the underpayments and did nothing. According to Bromwich, CBA managers were amply able to prevent anything of this nature occurring in the first place, let alone over such a substantial period of time. It's on purpose. The obligations were readily able to be complied with, and proper checks to ensure that was taking place was not hard to implement. That did not happen. Anyway, this guy also wants to overhaul the tax system too, people. He wants to, listen to this, he wants everyone that earns under $20,000 to not pay tax. And he wants the same people to not get a tax, what do they call it, like a tax cut. Well, they're not paying tax. But he wants others after that to start paying more. And wait for it, the GST up to 15%. That's going to work, isn't it, people? Oh, these people in the ivory towers. And on the footnote too of that, just back in November 2023, this is before it looked like Armaguard were definitely going under. This is when the big banks, including the CBA, all came forward to try and help Armaguard, the very company they were destroying through underpayments and closing bank branches, lending a hand, a bit of a handout from the globalists. You can see straight away the conditions would be flying left, right and centre. But this article says, and this is from the Australian Financial Review, came out on November the 30th, 2023. It says, banks call for crisis talks as cash transport firm teeters. It says Lindsay Fox-owned cash transport firm Armaguard is seeking an injection of funding to ensure it can operate its banknote distribution services profitably, just 5 months after it merged with rival Prosegur to create a near monopoly that was supposed to prop up the industry. Banks filed an urgent application to the competition regulator on Wednesday to allow them to meet and discuss a joint response to the possible distributing cash around the nation. It says, as the banks push customers towards digital payments and cash use declines, Armaguard is making heavy losses. The percentage of payments in cash has plunged from 62% in 2010 to 13% in 2021. Well, the pandemic helped that. It's very easy to see that you could say 13% by 2021 when no one was allowed out. So that's a furphy already. But anyway, and is expected to continue to fall. So you can see straight away they're using 2021 when it's actually 2023. When the article came out, it says this has jacked up the unit cost of delivering banknotes to bank branches, which are closing, and retailers in fleets of trucks. The decline in cash payments has come despite the value of banknotes in circulation hitting records last year. Funny that, as people stuff it under their mattresses for emergencies such as natural disasters and, wait for it people, telecommunication outages. It's so true, isn't it? And reading on, it's got the banks want the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission decision on waiving competition laws to allow the talks by the end of next week, reflecting the urgency of the situation. It says last month, Armaguard advised banks that the challenge of rapidly declining cash use now has put the continued viability of their business at risk, the Australian Banking Association said on Wednesday. Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, told the Australian Financial Review the federal government is working closely with Australian banks, the RBA and the industry to ensure the Australians continue to access cash. The exact opposite is happening. They're letting the banks close all the branches, get rid of the ATMs, and then say that people aren't using them because they can't get hold of them. It says the merger between Armaguard and Spain's Prosegur, approved by the ACCC despite creating a company with 90% share of the cash distribution market, they must have knew it was going to fail, people, was supposed to relieve financial pressure on Armaguard by allowing it to consolidate truck routes and cash distribution centres. But the merged company is still operating at a steep loss, with projections pointing to $190 million cash deficit over the next 3 years. It's got Armaguard's request for industry support was made at a meeting initiated by the Reserve Bank Governor Michelle Bullock, what a name, on October the 30th. Armaguard told the representatives from the major banks, along with the officials from the Treasury and the RBA, that it had insufficient self-generating funds to reinvest in the future sustainability of its distribution network. It's allowed to fail, people. The private company owned by billionaire trucking magnate Mr. Fox also expressed concerns about the ongoing viability of its business model, notwithstanding the merger, and indicated there was a real risk that it would cease to supply services in the short term without further financial support, according to people at the meeting. Now, that's what's just happened, people. The banks came in, they all offered their globalist arm, and I think Lindsay Fox did, I wouldn't say he did the finger, but he just said, we'll look after it ourselves, which means it's probably going to go under. And it says here, Armaguard asked for an extra $190 million cash injection over 3 years to ensure it could operate profitably over that period. ABA staff were in Canberra on Tuesday and Wednesday to brief politicians on the situation. Access to cash remains a key pillar of the government's payments policy, and the banks said they wanted to back a sustainable model. Don't you love that word? I mean, banks, money's made out of plastic. Sustainable model to ensure cash continue to circulate for those who wish to use it, which is